Hello and welcome to CX Today. My name is Charlie, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Peter Broeckx, EMEA Sales Director for Contact Center at AudioCodes. Peter, thanks very much for joining me. It'll be interesting maybe to start this interview with a quick discussion of what will be kind of hot or not in 2024. So I've got this list of 15 key contact center topics, and I'm going to fire each topic at you, and you have to simply answer hot or not, and then we can maybe dive deeper into some of them. So that sounds good. Are you ready, Peter?
Absolutely. It sounds like a great idea to kick off the video.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's start. And I think I know the answer to this one. Generative AI.
Hot.
Yep. Knowledge management.
Not.
Okay. Interesting. Cloud migrations.
Absolutely red hot.
Red hot. The Microsoft Teams contact center.
Very hot.
Very hot. Omnichannel.
Hot.
Always, every year. Click to call and click to chat.
Hot.
Yeah.
And recent, but hot. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really have omnichannel without click to call and click to chat, I suppose.
Nope.
Channel deflection.
Yep. Hotter as ever.
Absolutely. Voice first conversational AI.
Yeah. Ties back to the first one. Absolutely hot.
Yeah, true. So conversational intelligence.
Yep.
Yep.
Hot.
Absolutely. Voice of the customer.
Yep. Hot.
Proactive customer service.
Hot as well.
Hot as well. Business continuity.
Absolutely hot.
Okay. Agent assist applications.
Hot.
Yeah. And finally, workforce engagement management.
Yeah, well, hot as well.
Yeah. I mean, so I think that tells us something, actually, that we've gone through 15 key topics, and only one you mentioned was not hot. And I think, to be honest, you were just being democratic by saying that wasn't hot.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess that makes for an interesting first talking point in itself. What do you think the fact that all these contact center topics are so hot? What do you think that tells us about the current state of the contact center?
Well, a lot's happening, right, in the contact center space. If we go back a few years, it was like nothing really was happening a lot. I mean, you had a few big vendors that were having that technology. It was pretty, let's say, stable. It was not really much going on in terms of new features or new functionalities. And then all of a sudden, cloud came. And then came generative AI and LLMs and all these kind of new technologies that all of a sudden came to market, and everything is changing. And everything we've talked about, or all the topics you've just mentioned, kind of tie into all this change that we're seeing in the market today as well. So we see a lot of change, a lot of new products, a lot of new solutions. So it's red hot, this contact center market today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be interesting actually to dive into some of those trends that we've picked out there, and maybe to go deeper into kind of why you think these will be so kind of crucial coming up for the year ahead. And one that you were kind of very, very enthusiastic about was cloud migrations. Do you think that will really start to pick up in 2024?
Yeah, and this is something we've seen over the last, let's say, year. And I think it picked up, it started already a few years ago, but what we saw there was primarily some smaller enterprise customers going cloud, and the larger or the bigger, the more complex solutions were still staying on-prem. But what we've seen the last year, and it's even speeding up now, is a lot of the larger enterprise customers going cloud. And it's partly because of the cloud solutions growing up, if I can put it like that. So getting all the features and functionalities that people were used to have on-prem, they're now also in the cloud. So a lot of people are going towards the new solutions. But it also has to do with the larger on-prem vendors, or the larger, let's say, incumbent vendors saying, guys, we're shutting down everything we've got on-prem. Look at what Genesys is doing with Pure Connect. Well, they've closed multi-clouds. There's some discussions going on Engage. So a lot of customers are being pushed to cloud. And it's not just with Genesys, right? There's also the other vendors that do the same. So on the one hand, you've got the maturing cloud solutions. On the other hand, on-prem solutions that are disappearing. So as a customer, what do you have to do? Migrate to the cloud. And you've got, let's say, two kind of customers. You've got some of them that say, okay, let's start now, and they're putting out RFIs, RFPs, RFQs in the market. They're willing to migrate now. And then some others that go like, yeah, well, we know we need to migrate to the cloud, but for them, it's too early for whatever reasons. And they say, well, we're going to do this. We're going to start this new project in 24, 25. But you see, it's going to come. So I believe 2023 or end of 2022, I think like 30% of all contact center seats were in the cloud. Prediction is, if you look at Metrigy and some of the other analysts, that about 60% is going to be in the cloud by 2025. So that's kind of a big push into that cloud market. And what I see today and the projects we're working on and the customers we're engaging with, I think that 60% by end of 2025 is going to be conservative. I think it's going to be more, if you ask me.
Yeah, it'll be interesting as well to consider. Do you think there'll be a pickup in terms of the hybrid kind of clouds as well, in terms of not just kind of the full CCaaS migrations, but kind of businesses that keep some of their contact center infrastructure on premise and just leverage elements of the cloud, or do you think they'll go all in the cloud?
I think we will see both. There are some let's call verticals. There are some countries where cloud is not yet fully allowed. Their enterprise customers, they go like, yeah, well, it's a good idea to have some part of the infrastructure in the cloud, but we don't want to have all our data in the cloud for security reasons, privacy reasons, whatever you want to call it. So this hybrid solution, is that going to play a role? Absolutely. And then you see some of the vendors really pushing into that route. So, okay, let's migrate on your own pace. And if you want to keep part on the on-prem, you can keep it on-prem, migrate to the cloud, and whatever to the cloud whenever you want it. So I think it's an interesting scenario, and we'll see both. You will still have a few customers that will stay on-prem. You will have part that will do this hybrid approach, and a large portion will go cloud in the near future.
Yeah, horses for courses, I suppose, is the saying that comes to mind. The English saying. So yeah, I think that's covered the cloud migrations very thoroughly. And another topic that you seemed very kind of enthusiastic about at the start was kind of the Microsoft Teams contact center. Is that, I know obviously at AudioCodes you've got Broeckx, which kind of runs on Teams as a CCaaS solution. Is that something that you're starting to see a much higher demand for now?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at the UC market, I think it's no secret that Microsoft has won that battle, right? I mean, a lot of enterprise customers are going Microsoft Teams and going Teams telephony. Especially if you looked at the latest numbers from Ignite, I mean, growth is amazing. The number of customers that are rolling out Teams and Teams telephony keeps on growing quarter after quarter. And we see this from the people we talk to as well. A lot of enterprise customers have decided to go for Teams and are deploying Teams and Teams telephony. But Teams does not meet all the requirements, right? So there's some very basic call queuing functionalities in there, but nothing really contact center. So as soon as you go above the make a call and getting called, you're kind of limited to what you can do with Teams. But a lot of customers say, okay, we need something extra. But when we talk about that something extra, does it then mean that I need all the bells and whistles of a, let's call it quote unquote, real contact center? Think the Genesys, the 5.9s, the NICE inContacts, you name them. not really, because that's typically a bit too complex, too feature rich, etc. for a lot of those customers. And then comes the question, okay, what do we do then? So Teams is not enough. The other ones are too big, too complex, too expensive. Can we have something in between? And that's typically where we come to play with Voca CIC, where we add features and functionalities to Teams and kind of allow for any, let's say, employee that has Teams to become kind of a contact center agent and be part of that let's say, customer experience and an employee experience. So it's absolutely something really hot. And when you talk about Voca CSC, I mean, we've been on the market for a while, and we see the pickup in demand for these kind of solutions growing. I was about to say quarter per quarter, but it's literally month on month, week on week that you see the demand for these kind of solutions grow. So it's a good space to be. And if you look at the total addressable market, I mean, it's immense. So it's and when you talk about to the analysts, apparently it keeps on growing each time we talk to them. So it's a good space to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting as well, the fact that the Microsoft Teams contact centers solutions in themselves are becoming much better. I remember kind of at the start, it was all on the kind of power model. And there was, is it the power model? I think it is. With all the kind of SIP trunking, and there was kind of a lot of work involved. And then we had Extend, and now I think there's the power model. Am I right in saying this? Which is
you used to have the two, like Connect and Extend, and now it's power model, which is the newest, the latest and greatest way of connecting Teams into contact center, or contact centers into Teams. And this is exactly what we've built Voca on. So we were a bit later to market than some of the other Teams contact centers, but this also allowed us to actually start building this based on the power model, which means, Azure Communication Services, all the Microsoft Cognitive Services that are behind or underneath it, and allow us to be, let's say, ready for the future also when Microsoft comes up with something new.
Yeah, and it allows you, I suppose, to add lots of other applications onto it, such as kind of your voice automation. And that's something I do kind of want to talk about as well. But before that, I did notice that you seem quite enthusiastic too about kind of the click to call and click to chat, despite those being quite innovations that have been around for quite a while. What makes you think that these will, stay such a significant topic within the contact center in 2024?
Well, actually, we've been talking about this for, I was about to say ages, but a while. And you always wonder why it doesn't really pick up. But now, since, let's say, the last 6, 8, 9 months, we see a lot of requests coming in from end customers that are adding these kind of requests into RFIs, RFQs, RFPs, and are deploying these kind of solutions. And typically a number of reasons why it's picking up. One is customer experience, and then the focus on this customer experience that enterprise customers have today. If you can allow your customer to start from what typically is the engagement these days, right? From the digital, you're on the website, you're on the mobile app, and then you've got a question for them. Either you're going to start chatting, or if it's an urgent question, you just may want to call, or you want to start with a chat and then elevate to a call if you need to. And then the question is, okay, how do I do this? And yes, you can put contact details and then a phone number, and then you pick up your phone and you start dialing. But what then typically happens is I get into this dreadful IVR where they are press 2 for, and you live in Belgium as well now, right? So it's typically press 1 for Dutch, press 2 for French, press 3 for English. And it takes you like 10 minutes before you get to speak to someone. And then when you speak to someone, it goes like, oh, you're calling for an insurance. That's for my colleague. Let me transfer you. And you're off again. I mean, it's horrible. So what we try to do now is make sure that when you're already engaged on a digital channel, the website or a mobile app, typically you're logged in, right? I mean, each time I'm communicating with my bank, for example, I'm logged in into the app. And then when I want to talk to them, I just hit this click to call button, sets up the call. It immediately transfers my personal data, my authentication data, what they call, so that the bank knows it's Peter Broeckx calling. And even better, we add the contextual data. So they know that I'm looking at, for example, insurance for a car. So instead of this dreadful IVR menu that you get an agent that goes like, "Good morning, Mr. Broeckx. How can I help you today? I see you're looking at an insurance for your car. Any questions for me? I'm John. I'm the expert on insurances." That's a completely different experience, right? And one of the topics you mentioned was this customer experience and customer journey. This is exactly one of the reasons why this is picking up now, these deployments. And okay, I just focused on the customer experience part of the click to call, but there's a second part that's important, and we start to see getting a lot of traction, and that's cost savings. And I had the experience myself. I was in the US over the summertime. Had to call my bank, and the only number I had on the back of my card was a +32. So there I am in the US calling an external number, and when I get then the bill at the end of the month, it's rather expensive call that you do towards your bank. Now, can you avoid that? Yes, you can, and they can put, for example, toll-free numbers. But then it's the bank call that's paying this. So by adding this click to call button and just doing this over the open internet, you avoid these toll-free numbers and the costs associated for the enterprise customer, for the bank. So the cost saving aspect is another big topic for enterprise customers today to start implementing this. And what we've seen from some of the recent projects we've done is that the cost savings that they have is really important, and ROI is pretty short. And then we're talking months, which in these economic times is perfect for enterprise customers, right? They want to have a quick return on investment for their for anything they do, and this is one of those projects that has these quick return on investments.
Yeah, and I can imagine actually in terms of the cost savings. I mean, if the customer clicks through a click to call link or a click to chat link, as the kind of context follows them, the agent can continue the conversation from the point where it broke down, maybe on through an online chatbot or something.
Absolutely.
And that's huge handling time. That cuts handling time significantly, and that's even more cost savings actually. So it's an important innovation actually, and I believe actually we have a demo here to show everyone. So maybe if I'll put it on the screen now, and everybody can enjoy watching Click to Call in action.
Perfect idea.
We had an emergency in the middle of our family holiday.
Oh boy.
I was trying to get tickets for the earliest flight home, waiting on the line forever. I don't even know how much that call cost me. Then I saw a talk to an agent button on the airline's website. The second I clicked buckle up for liftoff, an airline representative was there, online. A toll-free call with a real person. He booked us new flights for that same day. This is what I call
Love at first click.
digital click to call, connecting you to your clients when they need you most, from anywhere in the world.
Okay, so that was the Click to Call and Click to Chat links in action. And now I want to kind of move on to a fourth trend, which we kind of mentioned earlier in the Hot or Not segment. And you seem very enthusiastic as well about this one, Peter, and that is kind of voice-first conversational AI. I imagine you've seen quite an uptick in 2023 in this, and you're kind of expecting kind of that to continue in 2024?
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at conversational AI, it's the hot topic in the market right today. Since ChatGPT, well, even before, right? But ChatGPT just was the moment where everybody was like, yay, this is it. We need to go this route. Because before it was kind of the geeks and the nerds that were working on these kind of things, and all of a sudden it was brought in the boardroom and to the tables of the CEO, CIO, CTO, CEO. Everybody was talking about it. So all of a sudden it became really important for enterprise customers to start engaging on this and to work on this. And as you mentioned, we've seen quite an uptake on conversational AI, and that's then typically, let's say, three main use cases that we see or that I've been working on with some of our customers. One is replacing the traditional IVRs. We talked about it before, this dreadful press one, press two, and then not getting anywhere. And now, instead of doing this DTMF IVRs, you can go like, welcome to AudioCodes. How can I help you? Oh, I've got a question about, can I speak to? Of course. And then it's just natural language understanding. You just talk, and then the bot typically understands, routes you to the right person, to the right department, to the right whatever you want. So it's replacing those old IVRs. Second one is IVAs, so the virtual assistants, where we are replacing agents or the tasks agents were used to do. So that's a second hot one. And then the third one is agent assist, where you're not replacing agents, but where you're actually complementing agents and helping them to become more efficient, faster, etc. And especially that last one is something we really see an uptake on, because this great resignation is something we've been talking about, especially in the US, but we see it in some countries in Europe as well, where it's hard to hire new agents. So the ones you have, you want to keep them and you want to help them and you want to make sure that they stay. And by implementing agent assist technologies, this is one way to help them. And it's really something a lot of enterprise customers are working on, these three elements. But as I said, agent assist is one of the big topics these days.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting. That's kind of a use case that I've seen with AudioCodes. It's worked very well before too, of kind of merging the first and the third one in terms of the customer goes through the IVR, and then as they're waiting in the queue, the kind of voice bot interacts with them and says, so we're ready for your call. Can I have this, maybe your order number, delivery number, and things like that? And that gets passed through to the agent at the start of their call, so they can kind of start the call with all the information that they need. And again, that brings down handling time and improves the customer experience, improves the waiting experience too. So that was a good one from that I've seen. And I remember seeing a presentation from your colleague Patrice at the Expo last year, and I remember seeing there's a lot of these presentations that there was nobody in attendance, and then for the voice automation one, it was just completely full. I thought that was quite telling in itself. But yeah, I think that's great on voice first conversational AI. Maybe the final trend that I want to focus on, and I think some people might be surprised that you said it was hot, and that was kind of business continuity. Obviously, we had a lot of talk about business continuity kind of during the pandemic period and how businesses can kind of ensure that they're ready for the next disaster. Yet you still kind of see it as a hot topic. Could you maybe kind of explain why?
Yeah, and it's I mean, cloud is not new, right? I mean, we all agree, and we've been migrating solutions to the cloud for a while now. But I think it's only when people are actually in production and then experience a problem that they realize this continuity or survivability really is important. And to me, it kind of came as a surprise. Well, maybe not really surprise, but that it was so hot, and it was end of, I think, February this year. I remember I was in CCW in Berlin, came in the first morning, it was like 8 a.m. in the morning, coming into on the floor show to set up our booth. And then one of our customers came along and said, well, you know what? We had an issue yesterday. Like, oh, tell me. And their cloud was down for like 6-7 hours. They had a few thousand agents on there. And if you've got a few thousand agents going, I can't take a call, I can't make a call, you've got an issue. And that's when I realized how important this survivability and business continuity for the cloud was. And it was not just me, also the customers, but because they assume that most of the vendors have something in place. But then they realize they can't foresee all potential issues that can occur, right? It can be the contact center application that goes down, but it can also be AWS that goes down, or it can be Azure that goes down, or it can be the internet provider that goes down, and all these different elements that play a role that you try to find a solution for when you migrate to the cloud. That's where it becomes complex. And these are now the kind of conversations we have with customers and go like, okay, you're going for this cloud contact center. What can go wrong? And how do you mitigate these potential issues? And that are a lot of the workshops that I'm doing these days to see how we can help them or potentially avoid them going down when something happens. And it also relates to the fact that it's now the big customers that are migrating to the cloud. So for them, it's even more important that they're up and running 24/7, 365 days a year. So that's where business continuity now really comes into play.
Yeah, I imagine they got that quite the panic once those thousands of agents were suddenly offline for hours.
Yeah.
That's quite remarkable. But yeah, it does. It's we hear kind of stories about kind of contact center vendors saying they're 99.9% reliable, but there's always that 0.01%, and the possible negative impacts of that potentially huge.
Yeah, and we've seen it before, right? I mean, most of us are using Teams. It's not like Teams is always up and running. Sometimes you've got a glitch. Sometimes it's like a bit longer that you can't use it. And that's then I was about to say just Teams, because that's only you see. And if my Teams doesn't work and I need to talk to someone, I just pick up my mobile phone and I make the call. But when you're in a contact center, there's no way of let me grab my phone and send the calls to my cell phone. That's not how it works. So business continuity for a contact center is a bit more important than, let's put it, just for the UC environment.
Yeah, and it strikes me as a topic that we should cover a bit more on CX today as well. So keep an eye out for a story on that in the future. But I think maybe that's a great place to end today's chat. So thanks very much for joining me today, Peter.
Thank you for having me, Charlie.
Absolutely. And thanks for everybody for watching. Bye for now.